the knight. In a chess game, the knight has a special L-shaped way of moving. So this knight on g1, it always moves 2 square in one direction, then 1 square either to the left or right. So let's say knight to f3. So this black knight moves 2 steps in one direction, then either right or left. So knight to c6. Now let's see the knight on b1, how it moves. Yes, again it is 2 steps forward and then either right or left. So knight to c3. And again the knight on g8, how it moves. Again it's the same way, 2 steps in one direction, then either right or left, making an L-shaped pattern. So this is how a knight moves in a chessboard. In this position, a knight centrally placed can cover 8 squares at a time. It can control 8 squares. Now let's go to the side of the board and see what is the power of the knight. Now we can see the knight is at the side of the board, and how many squares it can go. This is an L-shaped pattern, and another one is here, and the third one is either left or right. So these are the 4 squares the knight can go. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the knight can cover 4 squares on the side of the board. Now here the knight is on the corner of the board. Now you can see how many squares it can cover. Let's see. 1, 2, L shape. Again from this position here, 1, 2 and L shape. Let's simplify. 1, 2. So the knight can only cover 2 squares from the corner of the board. Never bring your knight to the corner, all its strength will get reduced simultaneously. The knight on the corner, it can only reach 2 squares. The knight on the side of the board, it can reach up to 4 squares. But the knight at the center of the board can cover 8 squares. In this position, look at this knight on d4. Now look into the square c6. Note that it can jump over the pawn on c5 and d5 to get to the square c6. But it cannot move to the square f3 because one of its own bishop is already occupied there. So you cannot capture your own piece, but you can jump either over your own piece or the opponent's piece. So 1, 2, L shape, or like this 1, 2, again L shape. You can go to the square knight to c6 by jumping up over the pawn on c5, which is your own pawn, and from the pawn at d5, that is the opponent's pawn, and it is the only piece that can jump over other pieces. Now look at the black knight on e6. It can go to the square like g5 and capture the white bishop. So you cannot capture your own piece, but you can capture the enemy's piece. And you can also jump over your own pieces and the enemy pieces to reach in squares like d4. So knight captures bishop, it is possible. Now in this position, the black's bishops can't do much of the thing because it is trapped in between of its own pawn, and this game is kind of a closed one. Can you see all the pawns are interlocked? So the game is almost closed. So this type of position is called a closed game. And a knight is very good in a close game because it can jump over other pieces, see, and it is attacking simultaneously the pawn and the rook. So once the rook moves, so we can see once we capture with the knight, we cannot attack back by the black. So in this position, even though the bishop and knight are equal powers, which are equal to 3 pawns, but positional wise, white is slightly better because knights are really good at closed game and bishops cannot do much in this position. The most common weapon of the knight is the fork. Do you see how the white knight can attack all of the black pieces if moved to the appropriate square? Can you spot that square? Yep, you got it. Knight to c7, that's a check. It attacks the king, it attacks the rook, and it attacks the queen. And you know the knight moves in L-shaped pattern. 2 steps straight and then right or left. 2 steps in one direction, then left or right. So this is the power of a knight, and it is the most common weapon of the knight to fork the pieces. In this position, it is black to play and find the best move. Here we see the black has two possible forks. The knight can go to e3 or the knight can go to b4. So which one is the best move you think? Can you spot it? Good job. Knight to b4 is a good move because it is simultaneously attacking the king and it's a check and forking the queen. When deciding between two possible forks, always go for the most valuable piece. Well, it can also go to knight to e3 as well, but rook is not more powerful than the queen, so you always have to hunt down the bigger valuer pieces. And that's all about the knight. Our next video will be about the queen, so stay tuned, and until then, keep playing, keep learning, and keep it cheeky. And hey, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.